In Port Charles, power never stays in one pair of hands for long, and the vacuum left by Anna Devane's sudden disappearance is already reshaping the entire landscape of law and order. Officially, Anna has been dispatched on a classified WSB assignment, a tidy explanation meant to soothe nerves and keep the public calm. Unofficially, everyone who truly knows her can feel there is something darker simmering beneath the surface. Rumors whisper that she is not a willing agent on some distant mission, but a captive in a game that has yet to fully reveal its rules. While that mystery looms in the background like a storm over the harbor, the PCPD has to keep its doors open and its cases moving. That is where Dante Falconeri steps in, not as the easygoing detective fans have grown used to, but as an interim police chief carrying the weight of a role he never expected to inherit this way. Laura Collins, always the steady hand in a crisis, understands the department cannot drift while their top cop is missing in action. With that in mind, she turns to the person she trusts most within the ranks. Naming Dante as acting chief is both a strategic choice and an emotional one. She knows his moral compass, his sense of responsibility, and the way he constantly wrestles with doing the right thing even when it costs him personally. But leadership demands hard decisions, and almost immediately Dante is faced with one that could explode both professionally and personally across Port Charles, the reinstatement of Nathan to the force and what, exactly, to do with him. Nathan's return is framed as good news, a sign that the PCPD is rearming itself with experienced, capable officers at a time when chaos seems to stalk every corner of town. The announcement feels like a breath of fresh air to the rank and file. Yet underneath that hopeful note is a carefully calibrated assignment that exposes Dante's fears about one particular detective. Instead of easing Nathan back into duty, Dante pairs him with Harrison Chase, a move that, on paper, makes sense. Nathan is steady, methodical, and battle-tested. Chase is passionate and driven, but sometimes too driven for his own good. Together they could be a formidable duo. However, Dante's decision is not just about workload balance or case assignments. It is about surveillance. It is about control. It is about asking Nathan to be more than a partner, he is being asked to be a watchdog. Dante doesn't couch his request in empty pleasantries. As acting chief, he sees the fault lines in his team more clearly than ever before, and Chase's biggest fault line has a name, Willow. Chase's history with Willow Tate is no secret. Their romantic past may technically be behind them, but feelings that deep do not vanish just because vows were exchanged with someone else. Dante has watched Chase slowly, almost imperceptibly, slip back into a pattern of emotional entanglement under the guise of helping his ex. Willow's legal troubles and the cloud of suspicion hanging over her have become the perfect excuse for Chase to play hero, and Dante knows exactly how that combination of guilt, longing, and protective instinct can send even the best cop spiraling. So when Dante asks Nathan to keep an eye on Chase, it isn't a casual favor. It is a calculated safeguard. Nathan is instructed to monitor not just how aggressively Chase pursues leads, but how often those leads seem to circle back to Willow, how frequently professional distance dissolves into something more personal. The directive puts Nathan in an incredibly uncomfortable position. His badge demands loyalty to the chain of command and to the law. His humanity recoils at the idea of shadowing a colleague for reasons that sound more like emotional triage than standard procedure. Still, he agrees, knowing that refusing Dante would only raise more questions and that someone, at least in theory, needs to keep the department from imploding. Meanwhile, Chase charges ahead on his mission with a single-mindedness that borders on obsession. To him, this is not just another case file, it is a chance to prove that Willow is not the villain some believe her to be. It is a chance to rewrite an ending that once broke his heart, to show he can save her this time in a way he couldn't before. That mindset, however noble it might feel in his own head, is poison in a law enforcement context. Procedures start to look like obstacles. Rules begin to feel negotiable. Every boundary he is supposed to honor as a married man and as a detective blurs a little more each time he convinces himself that this one risk, this one bending of the guidelines, might finally be the key to clearing Willow's name. From Nathan's vantage point, the situation quickly becomes a minefield. At first, he tries to interpret Dante's instructions in the most charitable way possible. He watches Chase at crime scenes, listens to how he questions witnesses, studies how he files reports. The patterns are subtle at first: an extra visit to Willow under the pretense of clarifying a detail, a late-night call that has more warmth and urgency in Chase's tone, an off-the-record follow-up that never makes it into the official log. Nathan tells himself that maybe he is overreacting, that maybe this is just a detective being thorough. But the more he observes, the less he can maintain that illusion. The turning point comes when Chase's determination begins to cross lines that are not just emotional but functional. He starts pursuing his own side investigation, running searches that haven't been approved, visiting locations that aren't on the shared schedule, and withholding pieces of information because he wants to verify them first. What he sees as protecting Willow from misinterpretation looks, from the outside, like tampering with the process. Nathan begins to realize that if this continues, any evidence Chase turns up might be tainted by his obvious bias, and if defense attorneys catch so much as a whiff of that, Willow's entire case could crumble, not because she is guilty or innocent, but because the cop who claimed to be her champion didn't know when to step back. At the same time, there is another casualty waiting in the wings: Chase's marriage. Brooke Lynn Quartermaine has always known that Chase's past with Willow was complicated, but she also believed that love, commitment, and shared struggles had built something stronger between them. What she doesn't see, at least not yet, is the way those old wounds are being reopened every time Chase lets his guard down with Willow in the name of justice. Dante, who cares deeply about Brooke Lynn as both family and friend, feels an added layer of pressure. He is not only trying to protect his department's integrity, he is also trying to prevent a personal disaster that could shatter someone he cares about. Nathan's role becomes even more excruciating when the emotional tension between Chase and Willow leaks into physical space. The show hints that moments of closeness, a comforting hand lingering too long, an embrace that starts as support and turns into something more intimate, a near kiss behind closed doors, are increasingly likely as the stakes rise. All it would take is one such moment, one slip that Nathan happens to witness, to turn speculation into hard reality. Whether it is a hastily stolen kiss in a hallway or the sight of Chase slipping into a room with Willow and shutting the door behind them, Nathan knows that once he sees something he cannot unsee, his obligation to Dante will collide head-on with his instinct to protect a colleague from self-destruction. From that point on, every choice Nathan makes is fraught. If he looks the other way, he risks becoming complicit in any misconduct and jeopardizing his own career. If he reports even a fraction of what he has seen to Dante, he could set off a chain reaction that detonates Chase's life. Dante would be forced to act, not just as a friend but as chief. Chase could face disciplinary action, suspension, or even termination if his personal involvement with Willow is deemed a conflict of interest that contaminated an active case. His credibility as an officer might never recover. At home, Brooke Lynn could realize that while she believed she was building a future with a man fully committed to her, part of his heart had never truly left the past. Dante, too, is put in an impossible position. His protective instincts for Brooke Lynn clash with his responsibility to uphold standards within the department. If Nathan comes to him with proof that Chase crossed the line, Dante cannot simply ignore it for the sake of friendship. He may feel compelled to confront Chase, to pull him from the case, or even to open an internal investigation. And then there is the question of what to tell Brooke Lynn. As a friend and quasi-family member, Dante may feel she deserves to know if her husband has blurred marital lines while entangled in a case centered on his ex. As a leader, he has to consider privacy, protocol, and the ripple effects of exposing such a painful truth. All of this unfolds under the shadow of Anna's absence, which makes the entire situation feel even more volatile. If the true nature of Anna's predicament as a hostage ever comes to light, the PCPD will already be under scrutiny, and any scandal involving one of its top detectives could be catastrophic. Nathan's reluctant surveillance of Chase becomes more than a simple request from a boss. It becomes a test of whether the department can maintain integrity when personal loyalties threaten to tear it apart from the inside. Every misstep Chase makes, every moment where Willow's influence nudges him a little further from the rules, tightens the noose around all of them. In the end, Nathan stands at the center of a storm he never asked to be part of. He is the one holding the knowledge that could either save Chase from plummeting even further or push him over the edge. He is the one forced to weigh a partner's career against the greater good, to decide whether silence is mercy or betrayal. As Chase's fixation on clearing Willow intensifies, and as the risk of emotional and ethical collapse grows, Nathan's role shifts from simple partner to reluctant judge and potential executioner of his colleague's future. General Hospital is setting the stage for a storyline where loyalty, love, and duty collide with devastating force. With Anna missing, Dante struggling under the burden of command, Brooke Lynn unsuspecting, and Willow at the center of a storm she may or may not deserve, Nathan is positioned as the reluctant hinge on which everything turns. If he reports what he sees, he could shatter a marriage and a career. If he hesitates, he could sabotage a case and compromise the badge he fought to wear again. One way or another, the choices he makes in the wake of Chase's reckless devotion will define not only his own return to the force, but the future of the PCPD itself.